Alright guys, I wanted to do another video quickly this morning. I just did a video on Holy Week in the Philippines, but something kind of reminded me of something that my wife and I did this morning. Reminded me of something that's interesting about El Paso. And I've entitled this video Recycling in El Paso because it's funny, things work a little bit differently here than they do in other parts of the country. As many of you know, El Paso is right on the border between the United States and Mexico. So you have, especially on Fridays and Saturdays, you have people coming up from Mexico who will basically scavenge things that you leave on the street. So for example, let's say you put old clothes out or old furniture, anything like that. Especially if you leave that out kind of on the sidewalk on a Friday or Saturday, it will not take any time for someone to come and pick it up. And it's just kind of funny because the very first time that I did this, my wife and I had just moved here. We were getting some things together, and I had boxes of just some cups and some other random odds and ends that we were not going to be able to use because of the rush in which we moved here to El Paso from Birmingham. We didn't really have time to organize everything quite as well as we had liked and would have liked. And so I had a few boxes of things, mostly kitchenware, that we had duplicate items and we couldn't use them. And I had been told, okay, you put these things out just on the street and somebody will come by and pick them up. But I could not wrap my mind around this. I just couldn't imagine leaving something out on the curb. To me, it was like littering. And so in my mind, what I decided is I'm going to take this stuff to Goodwill. I'm not going to just put it out there on the street. Well, I have my garage door open, and it seemed like I had my trunk open, yeah, because I was going to put these things in the trunk. And as I'm putting these boxes in the trunk of my car, this little light blue truck pulls up, and this Mexican guy comes out, and there's a big language barrier. I don't speak Spanish. He doesn't speak much English. But he makes it clear to me he'll take whatever it is that I'm planning to donate. So I give him the 2 boxes that are in the trunk, and I remembered enough Spanish to say uno más, one more. And I go back in the garage and give him the box that's out there in the garage. And he thanked me, asked me if I had anything else to give him, and I said, no, that's all I've got. And he went on his way. So it's just kind of a really fascinating thing about living here in El Paso is if you have an item that is, I'm not talking about garbage, but if you have an item that you want to get rid of that's usable, again, kitchenware, furniture, old clothing, if you put in most places, at least the section of town I live in, if you kind of put that out next to the sidewalk on the curb, people will come up from Juarez and get it, and I don't know what they do with it. I don't know if they use it or resell it in Mexico, but anyway, it's just a fascinating thing about living here in El Paso.